Now, comparing Rachel Notley to Margaret Thatcher might sound faintly ludicrous. Alberta's premier, after all, is a New Democrat with impeccable socialist pedigree. Britain's Iron Lady was and remains an icon of muscular conservatism. But much as Thatcher used the Falklands War to save her government and salvage her flagging political career, Notley is making strategic use of her considerably less bloody trade war with British Columbia to rally Albertans behind her. Okay, I grant you, a trade blockade against BC wine isn't exactly the same thing as the sinking of the Belgrano. In many ways, our Canadian war is so polite as to be farcical. But when it comes to Rachel Notley's fight for Kinder Morgan's Trans Mountain Pipeline, well, the lady's not for turning. Instead of attending the NDP's national convention this weekend, Notley spent her time tweeting out what she described as messages of pipeline support from ordinary British Columbians, amplifying the voices of Premier John Horgan's opponents. Just as only Nixon could go to China, I think perhaps only Notley could make this fierce an argument for Trans Mountain. No one can say she's in the pocket of big oil companies. No one can accuse her of being anti-NDP. Ed Stelmach, Alison Redford, Dave Hancock, Jim Prentice, they all tried to play the social license card. It never worked. No one ever bought them as environmental stewards. It's fashionable right now, I know, to poo-poo the whole social license argument, and it's true. Alberta's carbon tax hasn't yet gotten a pipeline built. Alberta's pledge to phase out coal power hasn't yet convinced many people in Burnaby that Trans Mountain is a smashing idea. And yet, those solid environmental policies do give Notley the political latitude to champion the pipeline on a national stage, to make the argument to the rest of Canada that the pipeline isn't just good for Alberta, that it's in the national interest. And indeed, just this week, economists at Scotiabank issued a report estimating that delayed oil pipeline construction now costs Canada's economy about $15.6 billion a year. Notley's brought Albertans right along with her. She's effectively muted Alberta environmentalists, her erstwhile allies. And she's earned the grudging respect of her usual political opponents, including, I think, Jason Kenney, even if only for the moment. Meantime, Alberta progressives are tweeting enthusiastically in favor of Trans Mountain in a way they never would have done had Redford or Prentice made precisely the same arguments. But of course, Notley only triumphs if Trans Mountain actually does get built, or at least if construction on the pipeline starts before Albertans hit the polls next year. She'll have to convince Canadians that this isn't just a squabble between Alberta and British Columbia, that this is a fight that matters, not just to the national economy, but to the fabric and the future of Confederation. It's not going to be an easy war to win, but as an Alberta premier who wants a second term, Notley has nothing to lose.